Hello and welcome again to Jeff Walker Books Discussion. Today I'm going to review the Tales of the Jedi. So like I said, I just watched the Tales of the Jedi, all episodes. And I got to tell you, I'm a little mixed on these episodes because on the one hand, I loved the CGI and overall look of the show. It's very much Dave Filoni. On the other hand, they were really slow and really clunky, and there was so much space in between. It was you could have crammed a lot of story in there, but he left it to drag in spots, and you didn't get a sense of any kind of episodic kind of writing. It was more quick than anything. But you know what? Even the Clone Wars back in the early 2000s, the micro cartoons, they had more story going in them than this show did, and that's really showing something. And it was surprising because Filoni, he's always been writing great shows for the Clone Wars. Which, again, it's just like what happened here. Sure, we got a little bit more Ahsoka, but it wasn't really anything of significance. And the stories themselves were kind of dull. I mean, there was they didn't even say who this guy was at the end, this sort of Sith Lord or some sort of Inquisitor or whatever the hell he was supposed to be. It's like, we didn't even know what the heck this guy was supposed to be. But I'm guessing he's going to be in Filoni's full Ahsoka series or something mentioned about it at some point in time. Whatever. I know that we're getting the Ahsoka live action series soon. And I hope that doesn't suck. Most of the Star Wars stuff we've seen lately has sucked. I don't really review some of it because it's just like, it's too disappointing. Excuse me for my cough here. So I watched that, and there's a part that bothered me about the Dooku storyline. For those that haven't watched it, I urge you not to listen any further. Spoilers and all that nonsense about don't listen to me go on about the show if you don't want to know anything. So stop here. So yeah, when Dooku meets up with Yaddle, who I know is supposed to be another one of Yoda's sort of people, but it was strange that she wasn't talking like Yoda, which I would have thought all of their species would talk like that. Which again makes me wonder, like, this wasn't planned out well. I mean, I don't really... I'd rather Yaddle speak in riddles as much as Yoda did. Whether or not that was his decision, I don't know. But then, when Yaddle is animated, and then you see how Yoda is animated, they look so vastly different. And you just sit there and you go, well, couldn't you have made that look a little bit better for Yoda? I mean, Yoda looks more like the Clone Wars version of Yoda. I mean, things have stepped up since then, so maybe he could have, like, given Yoda a better animated style? I don't know. Anyway, there's just too many things that bothered me, especially as an author and a writer. It's clunky. It's slow. It's not very planned out well. It's just, it wasn't tight. To me, it didn't seem complete. I know they were just micro episodes or whatever the heck they want to call them, but I just sat there and went, this is like a test thing for an animation department. It's not even a cohesive story that you can get into. I just think this was a testing water to see if they could do more. They're probably going to have another season of it. But you know what? Even they did one with anime. They did these other stories from Japan. these animators from Japan did their own versions of Star Wars. Those had better storylines than going with this, and some of that was like no dialogue, which just shows you like how much they didn't need to have the dialogue in there. But sometimes when you're watching the show, it's I don't know, it's hard to put your finger on it. I gave it a 5 out of 10 for the entire series. It was slow. It was dragged. It was not well thought out. And I think this is the problem with Star Wars. They rush. They're rushing. They're really just pushing things in and no comprehension of how to go about doing it. And like I said, I'm surprised with Filoni because his Clone Wars series was good. I mean, I wish I could say I was more of a fan of it, but I wasn't really overly that big of a fan of it. There's only a few episodes I could point out. The last episode with Yoda, when the show aired, that was one I liked, where he went to the Sith Temple. But yeah, Ahsoka is becoming his main staple figure, and now that he's kind of destroyed the novel. I did read the novel of Ahsoka, which I really didn't care for, to be honest with you. Some people are all bent up about that book, and I'm like going, yeah, it was all right, but it wasn't anything I would have cared to read again. That's like so much of those Star Wars novels. I'm not a fan of some of these Star Wars novels just because the way that they're written out is so bloated and egotistical. It just blows my mind how this ever got written. And now they're still continuing the High Republic for some god known reason. I honestly could not stomach the High Republic. I don't know why. Lucasfilm or these guys over doing these books are continuing to push this crap out. To be honest, there's no interest there. None. I don't hear anybody talking about it. I don't see anything mentioned on the sites about the books. Maybe once or twice, but nothing of... Like, these books are just dead weights. And I mean, if you're going to have a character that's a stone... like just a rock sitting there, yeah, that's the most unimaginative thing I've ever seen. Doctor Who, with the fourth Doctor, he had stones in his, yes, but they moved and did things, whereas his rock did absolutely shit. Pardon my language, but I couldn't stomach that. Just reading these books is just awful. I don't understand how these things are getting published. Anyway, getting back to the show, yeah, the animation was really good. I liked it. They're getting better with their textures and, the style they seem to have chosen for this animation for the Star Wars, Filoni Star Wars, kind of, if you want to call him. But I would have to say that still rather, I don't know. I was expecting more. Let's put it that way. I was expecting more from this series. I was expecting good quality, really authored chunks of story, and I got nothing. It was like bland bits, and that's great and everything. If this was like a part of a novel that we're just witnessing, or just, it's just very, very chopped, if you will. And there is like, I don't know how to describe it. I just didn't seem to care that much about it. And like I said, I gave it 5 out of 10. I mean, it was watchable, and I liked it in a way, but I'm not going to go watch it again. That's, to me, that's a sign of something wrong there. Because, you should be able to watch it over and over. I watched The Mandalorian over and over again. Let's put it that way. I watched The Mandalorian a lot of times. I liked that series more than any other they brought out. Uh, I was hoping that Obi-Wan would be more entertaining than it was. It was absolute garbage. I couldn't believe what they did to that character and his story arc, and it totally destroyed the mythos around why he was there protecting Luke. I get that they wanted to create a story around him, but you know what? They could have done one in a way where he was on Tatooine and there's danger on Tatooine more than there is like going out into the galaxy. Maybe once or twice he could go out there to get something, but he's reluctant. Here, it's like he was a total wuss and he didn't want to use the Force. I was like, what? What is this crap? And I'm just like, this is so out of character. Disney just doesn't get it. I don't think they get what they've got, and especially Kathleen Kennedy. She has no idea how to run this whole thing. It's pathetic, and I'm mad because I'm a fan. I'm a fan because I've seen fan fiction writings better than this, and a lot of this is fan fiction that they've put out. But it's like the bad fan fiction you don't want to read. It's like the ones that don't get the votes. And I'm absolutely just floored by this. I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm not going to go so much to say as I'm like the gung-ho that likes every little thing that comes out. I didn't care for most of the novels that came out. And I'll admit that. I'm not much of a fan for the books. I don't mind some of the characters and the ideas behind the characters, but the stories, no, I wasn't really into them. But I mean, you can be a fan and not agree with everything that's out there. I mean, my son likes The Last Jedi, which I almost feel ashamed, but I'm not. I mean, he likes it because this is his generation of Star Wars movies. Has he watched it many times? No. I think this is the problem. We're getting rid of what the definition of hero and villain is. And it bugs me because that's the whole point of story arcs between the hero and the villain. I hate the idea that they want to try to make you feel sorry for the villain. You can feel sorry, but you know where they're going, kind of like thing. I hate this gray area that they all seem to pinpoint. Like, like he's not really, really bad, and you should like him. It's like, what happened to the villain that you could freaking hate to death? Like, you could boo when they come on screen, Actors used to love that. They used to love being the villains. They'd enjoy it. They'd revel in it. Oh, I'm the bad guy, like, yay. Now it's like they kind of soften them. They make them wussy, and then they kind of just destroy the whole character. And it's just like, well, what happened here? It's disappointing. It's like they want us to all just conform into like this blase. I don't know what it is. I just don't understand. And like I said, as an author, I like my definitions clear, and I want them the way that they should be, because that's what makes it a compelling story. I said the first trilogy of Star Wars got it right because it was build up to the villain, and then boom, the turning point. Whereas Disney's versions of Star Wars are just bland and all over the place, and just a big shoulder shrug, and it's just annoying as all hell. There was hope with the Filoni-verse, I want to call it, with his Clone Wars, and he set up characters, and he did it a great way. But it's like as soon as Disney got involved, the stories are just not there. They're just kind of getting destroyed. Now, I know Andor is out And I tried to watch the first episode, but I couldn't get past it. Even my wife was annoyed by it, and she's usually not annoyed by a lot of those things, but it was just, I don't know. I didn't care for it. I know there's a lot of people who like Star Wars without the Jedi that would prefer to have that. And that's fine and everything, and I agree. Like, it is a vast universe, and you can enjoy that kind of thing. But I would think that there would be more compelling characters to focus on. Ksan, or however his name is, he was in that Rogue One movie, which I did like. I did like Rogue One. I didn't like the character enough to make a show around. I didn't really give a dang about his character. I still don't. I don't see the need for it. I would rather focus on characters that were in the movie that we haven't really had a whole lot of chance to explore. Well, you could have had a day in the life of being on the Death Star or something like that. And, a trooper that's reconsidering his position. That to me would have been more compelling. How do you get out of that? They could have done this in so many different ways, but honestly, I think it's like they're stuck in like this mentality that you have to get like this, I don't know, PC like crap into every little thing, and it's ruining it all. Disney's ruining the MCU. Everybody's just like, I don't know what it is of late. It's just, they seem to think that issues of today have never occurred from the past. Well, of course they've occurred in the past. That's why, we've been trying to get to the change point, and it's still going backwards. It's still, people screaming about their own problems and putting it into movies and stuff, and just in your face kind of garbage. Like, people go to movies to escape this stuff. You could probably kind of loosely implement it throughout the storyline, but I wouldn't make it front and center. Obi-Wan's series was too front and center. Like, they made that woman character far too predominant in his story, and it was Obi-Wan's story, not her story. Her being the Sith that, I don't know, used to be a Jedi, or I don't know. I don't think he killed her, Darth Vader. I don't. And then Darth Vader kind of went up and kind of stabbed her a bit, and then that was it. And that was like, oh, what a terrible, terrible show. They've totally destroyed the mythos. I think it's really bad. The only way to salvage it would be get someone else to do the whole thing again. I don't mean like doing the original trilogy again. I mean like setting a new Star Wars franchise maybe 1,000 years from where, Return of the Jedi left off. And just have totally new characters, totally new Jedi, totally new anything. But, you could harken back onto what happened before. But at the same time, there you go. You've got new characters. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows anything about their... And I think that's the problem. I think when they did the sequel series, which was horrible, with Rey and all them, and the only problem is that they brought in the characters and then totally discredited them, the original characters. And it was a shame that they did that, because it's like you had such potential to make this more. And honestly, I wish to God they had just made a whole new version of Star Wars. Or a Star Wars from set in the future from that one, because that would have been more compelling than what we got. I would have written it that way. I would have set that thing like, okay, 1,000 years have gone by from that, and this is where we are now. Probably would have been more interesting. Probably would have been able to squeeze in new characters, new ships, new everything, and Disney wouldn't have had to rely too much on bringing back the old characters, or destroying them and hearing all about it. That's just my thought on that. Anyway, the review of this Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi, 5 out of 10. I hope to goodness they get better if they do make another series. Another season. I haven't got much hope it will because they're just so. I don't know. I'm afraid to where this is going. The series did well enough, I think. It's funny that the animation does better than the live action. So go figure on that one. Maybe because Disney's better at doing animated than doing live action. So that's my 2 cents about the Tales of the Jedi and about everything else that comes out of there. I mean, my goodness. Andor, not a fan. Obi-Wan, disappointed. We'll have to see how Season 3 of Mandalorian does. And the Ahsoka series when it comes out. That'll be interesting. But for now, this is my review of Tales of the Jedi. Good, but not great. Just okay. And I'll leave it at that. And thank you for sticking around to hear me rant on about the series. Take care.
This has been a Jeff Walker's Books discussion. If you like this program, please subscribe. And if you want to read more of his books, The Long Lost War, The Massive Planet, The Mysterious World of Professor Dark and Miss Shadow, please visit his website at jeffwalkerbooks.weebly.com. Please, if you feel the need to review one of his books, he would be ever so grateful that you would. You may go and visit it on Amazon or anywhere else where books are now available.